month for April. It is the 2nd of May, but this is only 2 days late as opposed to the last time I was late by about 2.5 weeks. So this is an improvement. I've just been so very busy the last 2 weeks, and every time I thought, oh, I could do that now, I've just been far too exhausted. And anyway, it's now the 2nd of May, and I didn't want to leave you guys waiting anymore, and I'm really invested in keeping this up to the best of my abilities on any day of the week. So 2nd of May for April is good. I'm happy with that, and I'm very excited because I've had this one in my mind for a while to show you, and it is Tea and Cake by Judy Newman, my mother, for any new viewers who may not know. And this quilt is English paper pieced, and it is on the cover of her second book published by Quilt Mania, Quilts for Life 2. And it's been a pleasure to make. English paper piecing when did I start EPPing? Oh, it must have been 4 or 5 years ago now. Time has flown. But before that, I'd never done EPP before. And now I love it. I love it. I just covering the hexagons and then putting them together. I haven't done a lot of EPP with shapes other than hexagons, actually. I started with hexagons and went, why would I ever use another shape? This one's so much fun. But I will get to other shapes eventually, I'm sure. But diamonds, diamonds. Yes, so I had the most fun putting this sample together, and I will show you a little bit of it. It's it's a really big quilt. It's about 2.2 by 2.2 meters, so it is a really big quilt, but so wonderful. And I know a couple of people did do it with slightly smaller hexagons just to get a slightly smaller quilt, but I have big dreams for having a king size bed in my future, so I was like, I'll make it now for when I've got the really big bed. Why not? Or just for extra people under it on the couch. So special things about this one, we in Mum's original, and I've copied suit on this one. We've actually not put wadding in the middle, partially because the top with all of the seams, because there are so many pieces in it, it's quite heavy already, and also partly, along the same vein, we travel with the quilt, so we have to think about how many quilts fit in a suitcase, and putting wadding in it was going to make it even heavier again. So we've gone down the route of having it be a coverlet, which has been really lovely. We did consider briefly putting quilt light in it. So quilt light is a really nice, fine, soft wadding, often used for baby wraps or a blanket that you might put on the floor for a baby. And it's really lovely, and I have used it in a couple of quilts, but our dear friend Margaret Mew put it in one of her big ones. I think it was Rosa Biddlecombe, and in the thought that, oh, it's a light batting and I want a batting in this quilt, so I'll use that, because she travels with her quilts as a designer as well, obviously, and had the same concern about suitcases and weight. Anyway, she put it in Rosa, and no, turns out really heavy. It's in a 2.2 quilt light, really heavy. So we learned that lesson from Margaret, the easy way for us, the hard way for her. And we've made these a coverlet, so it's also made it ever so slightly easier to quilt through, obviously, because you're just it's only the 2 layers of fabric, but in all of the points it can get I guess a bit tricky, because you've got sort of 3 of the seams all at once, and it's and depending on what technique you use for your English paper piecing, it will depend on how your seams are lying within the quilt as well. I use a tacking method, so all of my seams stay put once I pull the paper out. I'm not a gluer or any of that, so my seams will stay pretty flat, but sometimes getting into the corner when you're hand quilting does make it a little bit tricky. So what I will do is I will show you how we're quilting it. Yes, that's the next step. So I don't know if you can see, but it's a tiny, tiny crosshatch through every single hexagon. And then we've sort of gone around the flowers to feature the flowers ever so slightly. Yes, so crosshatch through every single hexagon across the whole thing. I remember when Mum first put the original together and went, right, how are we going to quilt this? And we kind of ummed and ahed about it for a day or two, and then she said, I know how we're going to quilt this. And I said, oh yeah. And she said, you're not gonna like it. And I said, oh yeah. Every hexagon. I'm like, okay, let's go. And of course she was right. It's absolutely the only way to quilt it. At least if you're gonna hand quilt it, it's the only way that I feel that I would hand quilt it. And I'm very pleased that at least this one doesn't have a deadline, because when we were doing the original we had a deadline, so I chipped in quite a bit and we got through it, which was good. But this one I can just sort of go at my leisure, and I don't use a thimble when I quilt either. I really need to feel the needle going through the fabric, so I know that I've gone all the way through, and I've tried using a thimble before, and it really throws me. And I've tried using those thimblet stickers and they always come off. I might be an aggressive sewer, I'm not sure. And I am sure I'm probably an aggressive sewer because I draw blood on my middle finger, and it doesn't like me very much. So after a couple of days of solid quilting, I do have to put it aside for a bit and let my finger heal and do something else. So I'm kind of stopping and starting and getting through this one very, very slowly, but really, really loving it. And I can't wait till I get to the end and I can put the binding on, and it'll be just yes. So I think that's all I wanted to tell you. And this has been what I'm sewing this month in April. Thanks guys. Bye.